I ended up winning the roll to go to see who went first, and I opted to go first. My thought behind that was I was already slow, so turn 1 of running could have helped me get into a better position versus the extra 3 inches from the scenario setup. I ended up setting up my 2 heavy beasts, heavy melee beasts, closer to my objective so I could hopefully do a good job of protecting it. Whereas the rest of my army, the more ranged portion, the Cannoneer and the Venators, were on the other side, hoping to give some pot shots into my caster's objective and army.
So here I am starting my deployment. I want my beasts central, more or less so that I can react and hopefully contest the zone with them. And in this list, they're more of a backup beaters as opposed to frontline beasts. I want my Warspears on a flank so I can threaten and hopefully sort of control where he is going to place his Bronzeback as I select it as my prey, because that's his arc node. I keep pretty much to a central deployment. Bethayne goes in the middle of the Angel and the Scythean, and here we go into advanced deployment.
The Bloodrunners and the Master Tormentor were placed centrally, so with their speed they could hopefully get up and tie up some stuff.
For my advanced deployment, I'm placing my Hex Hunters in sort of a strung out line. He's got a Cannoneer, so I want to more or less spread out. I don't spread out too far because I've only got a 9-inch command, so I don't want to start out of formation. So we'll see how it goes.
Always got to turn out with a good handshake. To get them out of the way, I activated the Taskmaster and the Bloodrunners to run forward to toe in the zone and hopefully be in a good position to charge on my next turn. Cannoneer activated, he ran. The Raider advanced, put Far Strike up on the Cannoneer, hoping some future shots would come in handy. The Gladiator then put 2 for Rush and then attempted to slam one of the models across the table, but fell short, unfortunately. Then I activated my caster, ended up putting Ashen Veil on the Venators, did +2 for Rush on the Gladiator, and then had him attempt to charge one of the Legion models. A little fewer further inches forward. Now the Venators activate and they run forward. You know, it's all about getting those extra few inches on the early turn. Then the Extoller advances, puts Eyeless Sight on the Cannoneer. The Willbreaker advances, puts Ancillary Attack up. I attempt to shoot, and it is not a bad scatter. Scatter's over. I clip a couple of the guys. It's only dice -4, so I was able to kill 2 of them, which is good because it'll help me for later games. The Bronzeback activates, he runs forward, and the final activation are the Beast Handlers who just advance and condition to make sure I have enough fury on the table.
So we're going into my first turn here, and as you can tell, he got a fairly decent drift off of his Cannoneer, and he killed 2 Hex Hunters, which is not a huge deal. It's something I was trying to avoid, but I start off with advancing the Hex Hunters into the zone. I don't really want to run them this turn because I'm feeling I'm going to get jammed up anyway, and just running them would be more or less just throwing them away. I run my Spell Martyrs up, hoping to get some use out of them next turn. The Black Frost Shard advances, and the Warmonger Chieftain runs. Then I go ahead and run with the Warspears. Belphagor go ahead and run. And I have the Angel just riles and advances. I have Bethayne go ahead and cast Ashen Veil on the Hex Hunters and Carnivore on the Warspears, and she just advances. Like I said, I think I had a feeling the Hex Hunters were going to get jammed next turn, and the Ashen Veil would be helpful to keep them alive. My Shredder just advances and riles. I have the Scythean rile and advance, and my Forsaken advances and takes the Fury off of the Angel. And that is my turn 1.
Okay, starting this turn, I leech all my Fury back. I upkeep Ashen Veil, because I'm pretty sure I'm about ready to get them into combat. I double check to make sure I'm inside of the kill box range, which I am. Measuring control, because I got to find out if I'm within charge range of the Hex Hunters with my Bloodrunners. But before I could do that, I need to make sure that the Bloodrunners can hit. So I take the Master Tormentor. He charges the Spell Martyr. I end up hitting him and killing him, but the other guy is not in range. My opponent reminds me that I have Sprint, which was nice of him. So I was trying to remember how far I had to move, and ended up moving over to where I was able to engage at least two of the Black Frost Shard, and hopefully be able to keep line of sight for my Bloodrunners. Bloodrunners now activate, they now charge, and it's all about placement, hopeful placement, to allow them to see the Master Tormentor, once they finally get placed in their charge, with their charge targets. So now it's just, yep, there's another adjustment. Got one more to go. And there he is. Now it's a matter of rolling dice. The nice thing about the Bloodrunners, they all have anatomical precision, so as long as I hit you, I can at least was guaranteed to do a point of damage. And they have Shadow Play. Shadow Play says if I hit a model, I get to move another model within an inch of another model in the unit, which is nice, because it allows me to have some kind of nice shenanigans. Here's where my dice kind of don't let me do what I need to do, but out of the attacks, I'm able to at least hit the final one. Move my one model up there within 1 inch of another model in the unit. And then the final one, swing on the Spell Martyr. Able to hit him. And to try to lock things down, I went ahead and locked down Bayal with the final guy. Now it's time to activate some of the other models. Trying to figure out what's the right way. So I activate the Raider. He moves forward. He puts Far Strike up on the Cannoneer. The Venators then activate. They advance forward. I do believe this is the time that I end up using the mini feat. And they end up... 3 of them take a CRA into the one Black Frost Shard. I hit him, and then I'm able to kill him. The remainder are going to take a pot shot at the Angelius. I think a good majority of them are in, but unfortunately I roll low enough that I fail to hit. Oh, nope, I do hit. It's just barely. Now they get their reform, which is granted to them by their by the unit attachment, which allows them to move up to 3 inches. Extoller moves forward, gives basically the eyeless sight ability to the Cannoneer. The Cannoneer moves forward. He then pops a shot at the Angelius, boosting to hit. I managed to hit, boosting the damage. Not doing so bad, but would like to have done more damage. Then doing adding 2 for the Cannoneer's Animus of Diminish, which gives all enemy models within 2 inches of him -2 strength. The Willbreaker then advances, gives an Angelius attack to the Cannoneer, who then attempts to shoot the Warspears. Ends up missing, and it scatters. It scatters onto 2 additional guys, and I don't quite roll high enough to put any damage boxes on them. Now it's time for the Gladiator. He just runs forward, trying to get a better position. E-Hexeris activates. He advances. Trying to figure out what I need to cast for him. I just sit on all my fury. I advance the Bronzeback. The Beast Handlers then activate. They come forward, and they pretty much condition everything.
So going into my turn 2, I lost some Hex Hunters, but nothing too terribly bad. But I am jammed up pretty good with the Bloodrunners. I don't end up upkeeping any of my spells. I don't think that it's going to be that critical to have Carnivore on the Warspears at this point, and the Ashen Veil isn't really going to help the Hex Hunters for right now. So I have my Shredder goes Rabid and just walks his 8 inches and attempts to bite the Master Tormentor there. I'm trying to free up my Blackfrost Shard. I lost the guy that grants stealth in my opponent's last turn, so it's not terrible loss. I still have the guy that has harm, so that's always helpful. One thing to note, I did lose both Spell Martyrs during my opponent's last turn, which is a little awkward because I really wanted I got no value out of that out of them, so I was probably a little bit too aggressive in pushing them forward. So I have my Hex Hunters, they just shuffle around and advance, and I start swinging on Bloodrunners, trying to clear myself out and open up a hole for my models to move through and sort of unjam myself for the next turn, so I can actually get more stuff into the zone. I kill off most of the Bloodrunners that are jamming me up, and I have the 2 that are far enough ahead. Just throw some Hex Bolts out. Not necessarily expecting a whole lot of damage out of them, but at this point, with the amount of armor that's facing me, every little bit helps. So my Black Frost Shard advances, and I'm trying to ice cage his unit leader, just to drop his defense to make him a little bit easier to hit. I miss, and the harm misses as well. I have my Angel advance to his max melee on the Bloodrunner, and go ahead and boost my hit roll, end up killing him, and then I overtake backwards, trying to cut off his line of sight to me. Belphagor just advances. I have Bethayne advances into base to base with Belphagor. And I have her meld, hoping that the tenacity and armor on Belphagor will help her, will keep her alive. I cast a Eruption of Spines targeting the unit leader, and managed to kill a couple of the models, or a couple of the Venators there. And I go ahead and recast Ashen Veil on the Hex Hunters. I have the Forsaken just walks up, takes the Fury off the Angel. And I have my Warspears do some assaults. A couple of them assault the Gladiator, and a couple of them assault the objective. Mainly just trying to get them up the board at this point. And I have a couple of damage. Works out. And I have the rest of them that assaulted the objective. Put a couple of points on him, or excuse me, a couple of points on the objective. I think I only did like 5 points to it, so nothing exciting. Didn't manage to kill it. So. I have my Scythean advance, and that's my turn too.
Alright. Beginning this turn, I think this is going to be a pretty good turn for me with the placement of his caster. So I upkeep. I upkeep Ashen Veil. I then activate the Venators. They advance forward to get as many as possible into range. I then decide to do a multi-man CRA in there. Pretty much anything but to hit. I'm able to hit. It's like dice -5, or not dice -5. It's like dice -1 or 2. Able to do a couple points of damage on his caster. But when he's melded, he has a lot more health boxes. So next up is the Cannoneer. He pops a shot, boosted to hit. I boost the damage. Once again, not necessarily high enough to do a lot of damage, but enough to put some pain in there. He then puts 2 up for his Animus to diminish, just in case. Then I activate the Willbreaker to do an ancillary attack. Misses, but it does scatter. So now I'm activating the Raider. Raider advances. I'm hoping I got close enough without Far Strike. Unfortunately, I fell just a smidge short, but because of the fact that I already declared, means that I failed the shot, unfortunately. If I would have known, I probably would have done Far Strike and gone that route. So, to try to help out, I'm now going to activate the Beast Handlers. They're going to enrage the one Gladiator. He's going to move forward on the Warspear. He's going to charge the Warspear, boosting it to hit because I just need him to die. I end up hitting and killing, and now it's the rest of my attacks are spent trying to take out the Hex Hunters, which I'm able to hit them, and because of my high POW and their low arm, I'm able to kill them. The next up for activation is going to be the Bronzeback. He's going to advance forward. I'm going to rile him to, I believe, a max of 4, not to the 5th. I will then activate my caster. He moves forward, gets me just close enough to where I have the Legion caster in my line of sight and within range to start casting spells at her. And now it's a matter of what's the best spell. So I go ahead, I roll, I hit, boost the damage, was able to put some damage in there. Then I go ahead and pop Feat, which E-Hexeris' Feat allows me to pull Focus and Fury from every other non-Warcaster model in my control area. I attempt to cast Hellfire again, boosting it to hit. Not doing much of any kind of damage. And unfortunately, because it wasn't close enough to killing, I will pretty much sit on my 3 Fury. And hopefully help myself if I'm within range. Oh, nope. Yep, sitting on the 3. I will then activate the Extoller, moving up its inches, going to try to pop a shot at the Warspear. Let's see if I can, I'm able to do some damage, able to hit, and not quite enough to take it out.
Okay, going into turn 3. His last turn was kind of scary. He almost killed Belphagor with Bethayne melded to him, so I think he was alive on 11. I don't remember how many points Belphagor had left, but he was fairly close to dead. So, upkeeps and leeching and all that. I don't upkeep Ashen Veil, because it's not going to help me do a whole lot. I have the War Chief attack, charges the objective, and does a couple of points to it. And then my Warspears take the assault order, and I assault a couple of things. Mainly I'm assaulting the objective in the hopes of killing it, and a lot of it is trying to get the Warspears out of the way of the Scythean. I'm pretty much on the hopefully kill 2 war beasts, or 2 heavy war beasts this turn plan. So I end up killing the objective, And let's see. And I go ahead and kill the Beast Handler. Belphagor just advances just a little bit. And I have Bethayne goes, and Bethayne is not really happy about playing so far forward. I go ahead and I cast Carnivore on the Scythean. I go ahead and then I pop my feet and try and boost in Eruption of Spines at the Venators again, but I miss because they have Ashen Veil, so they're defense 15 as well. So Hex Hunters just advance. Just sort of shuffle around. I'm kind of hoping to kill a couple of things, and then utilize Battle Wizard to kill off most of the unit, the Bloodrunner, or the rest of the Bloodrunners, and hopefully some of the Venators as well. And I have one, because I can, I just have him throw a Hex Bolt at E-Hexeris, and which deals a couple of points of damage that he then transfers. My Black Frost Shard advances, and I try and I throw an Ice Bolt at one of the Venator, or excuse me, at the Willbreaker, and don't manage to kill him. And then I throw Harm at the Bronzeback, because that's his bonded beast, and it's a Bronzeback, so it immediately needs to die. And manage to hit. Now, the idea is my Scythean charges the Bronzeback, and then hopefully kills the Bronzeback, and then puts some damage into the Gladiator. So I'm rolling at straight dice. Then I hit my first charge attack, and then I miss my second attack, which is not good, which means I don't get my chain attack, which is one less attack. So I make, I buy a bunch, the rest of my attacks, or buy 3 additional attacks. I've left the Bronzeback alive on a couple of points, which means that the Angel's going to have to come in and finish him off, hopefully. So I have him charge, and I boost the hit because I'm swinging over a wall. I manage to hit, and it's an armor boost, armor piercing, harm. It's dice plus a lot, and I manage to kill him. And then I overtake behind the wall, just in the hopes of staying alive, or he can't really get to me with the Gladiator because it's tied up with the Scythean. So I have the Shredder advance, It rapid advances. Then I put Bites of Venator, put Tenacity on the Angel. And then the Forsaken just walks up.
After failing horribly to do my capture kill last turn and lose my Bronzeback, which was a huge blow, I went ahead and started my turn. I accidentally didn't left too much fear on the table, so I had to roll a frenzy check for the Raider, which he failed. He then took a swing at the Cannoneer because he was the closest model. I then finished reaving my Fury back. I did not upkeep Ashen Veil because it was getting late game and there wasn't very many of those guys left to really worry about. So now I was popping shots into, I believe, the unmelded War Beast. Now the Beast Handlers are activating. They're coming forward. Going to swing on the Warspear. I ended up hitting him, but he only had one health box, so Anatomical Precision took over, allowed me to kill him. The final Beast Handler put Enrage up on the Gladiator, hoping that he was going to be able to do something. Cannoneer now moves forward, now that he no longer is engaged by the Warspear, and pops a shot. He's just in range. I boosted to hit. I'm able to hit. And time for damage. And it was dice -4 and did some more damage. And of course the 3-inch AoE allowed me to kill off a couple extra models. But of course the Black Frost Shard still survived. And after field promoting, then activated the Gladiator, who missed horribly on his initial attacks. I was able to start hitting on his bot attacks, but unfortunately, because I failed to hit him with the initials, I did not cause enough damage to kill him. As a last-ditch effort, I tried to take the fight to him, so I took my caster, had him charge the Angelius, and I was going to Thresher. And he ended up threshing. I rolled all my hits first because it made more sense. And then, because I missed those last two guys, I just started buying attacks on the Angelius because I needed to kill him to get him out of the way. Wasn't quite enough. The rolls just weren't quite there. I was able to hit a couple times, but just never enough to do damage. So I was going to sit on one transfer. The Willbreaker gives me an ancillary attack. I'm able to shoot and kill off the light War Beast finally, and that is my turn.
Okay, so we're going into my turn 4. And my opponent's last turn was definitely not... It didn't go as well for him as it could have. I don't upkeep any of my spells. And here I'm looking at it, and I'm just trying. I'm more or less trying to ping him so that he has to transfer. But he does point out the fact that if I advance more or less forward with the Forsaken, I can Blight Shroud and catch the majority of his beasts, I believe. I think the only thing that I wouldn't get would be the Raider, which in the long, grand scheme of things, not a huge deal. My Hex Hunters passed their command check for the Abomination, and the Forsaken Blight Shrouds for 5 inches, catching Hexeris, the Gladiator. So, do some points. The last remaining member of the Black Frost Shard advances and harms Hexeris. I have my Hex Hunters advance. Mainly because Bayal's still alive, and he's a POW 10 Weapon Master with Shadowbind, which is -3 defense, which is always, good on a caster. So, I force him to transfer. And he's at -3 defense now. He hits. Or Bayal's second attack hits, excuse me. And then I have Bethayne advances, throws Carnivore on her on the Angel, Tenacities herself, and the Angel, and then just sits on 3 transfers. The Angel goes and boosts his armor-piercing attack, manages to hit, and it's POW 18, so that'll be the assassination.